Asian Paints Woodtech PU Palette is a two-component polyurethane wood finish which gives color to your wooden surfaces. It is available in a variety of shades which exhibit excellent anti-fading and anti-yellowing properties with a very high durability. Asian Paints Woodtech PU Palette is available in glossy and satin variants for the interior range and in glossy finish for the exteriors. It can be applied on surfaces made up of any wooden substrate or soft metal. Asian Paints Woodtech PU Palette is also available in metallics range that can be applied as a middle coat between Asian Paints Woodtech PU Palette Primer Surfacer and Woodtech PU Interior or Exterior top coats to obtain a metallic finish. Product features: Asian Paints Woodtech PU Palette Interior. Over 150 shades. Available in more than 150 shades, including 30 metallic shades and 20 translucent shades. Crack resistance. Asian Paints Woodtech PU Palette Interior has a strong yet flexible film. Hence, it resists cracking even on curved surfaces. Superior resistance. Asian Paints Woodtech PU Palette Interior has good scratch, stain and heat resistance. Hardness. Asian Paints Woodtech PU Palette Interior has superior film hardness, making the product more durable as compared to melamine. In addition to these features, Asian Paints Woodtech PU Palette Exterior has exterior durability. Exterior durability. Asian Paints Woodtech PU Palette Exterior has UV guard, which makes the product excellent for exteriors. Technical specifications. Coverage. The coverage rate is about 8 to 10 square meters per liter per coat. Method of application. Spraying. Drying time. Surface drying time 25 to 40 minutes for interiors. Tack-free time 3 hours. Recoating time 8 to 12 hours. Buffing, if required, must be done within 72 hours. Mixing ratio. Mix primer surface base with hardener in the ratio 9:1 by volume and thin it with 25 to 40% of Asian Paints Woodtech PU thinner. Mix hardener with all variants of top coats, including metallic undercoat, in the ratio 4:1 by volume and thin it with 25 to 40% of Asian Paints Woodtech PU thinner. Maturation time. Leave the mixture for 30 minutes before application. Stability of thinned paint. Use within 3 hours post-mixing. Gloss level. 90% in gloss finish, 20 to 55% in satin finish. Application process. Before starting the application process, do ensure that you are wearing the necessary safety equipments. Start cleaning the wooden surface by sanding it with sandpaper number 180. If the surface was coated previously, clean the surface by scraping. Mix Asian Paints Woodtech PU Palette Primer Surfacer with hardener in the ratio 9:1 by volume and thin with 25 to 40% of Asian Paints Woodtech PU thinner. Allow the mixture to mature for 30 minutes. Spray 2 coats of the mixture on the surface, allowing a drying period of 4 to 5 hours in between. Next, mix Asian Paints Woodtech PU palette with hardener in the ratio 4:1 by volume. And thin with 25 to 40% of Asian Paints Woodtech PU thinner. Allow the mixture to mature for 30 minutes. Spray 2 coats of the mixture on the surface, allowing a drying period of 12 to 14 hours in between each coat. If a metallic finish is required, apply 2 coats of Asian Paints Woodtech PU palette metallics mixed in the same ratio as Woodtech PU palette top coat, and spray onto the surface with an interval of 25 minutes to 40 minutes or 5 to 6 hours in between coats. Do not sand the metallic coat. Top it by applying Asian Paints Woodtech PU satin or glossy in the recommended procedure. Comparison with market competitor. Asian Paints Woodtech PU palette versus competitor product. Butyl acetate test and MEK solvent test. This test is used to highlight the superior resistance of Asian Paints Woodtech PU palette towards the chemicals like butyl acetate and MEK solvent, which are present in common household cleaners. The test result clearly shows that the competitor's surface is affected much more than the surface coated with Asian Paints Woodtech PU palette. Stain resistance test. We compare the stain resistance of Asian Paints Woodtech PU palette with its competitor product by first using ballpoint ink, followed by a permanent marker. We see that the stains are cleaned much more easily on the Asian Paints Woodtech PU palette panel than on the competitor product panel. Cigarette butt test. We conducted the cigarette butt test on the panels coated with Asian Paints Woodtech PU palette and its competitor by putting out a cigarette butt on each of the panels. This is done to check the impact of heat on the surfaces. We see that the burn mark left on the competitor panel is much more than that on the Asian Paints Woodtech PU palette panel. Cross-cut adhesion test. A cross-shaped cut mark is made on each of the comparative product panels. And then we try to peel off the chipped paint using a masking tape. The panel coated with Asian Paints Woodtech PU palette exhibits lower chipping and peeling, which clearly implies that Asian Paints Woodtech PU palette has a much better adhesion than its competitor. Sheen test. The sheen level of a finished wooden surface is measured using a glossometer. The higher glossometer reading for Asian Paints Woodtech PU palette denotes a higher sheen when compared to the competitor product. Application tips. A few useful tips that would give a better finish. Always mix the base and the hardener in glass, plastic or enamel containers. Refrain from using lesser than the recommended quantity of hardener, as that would lead to improper curing, leaving the surface soft and vulnerable. At the same time, do not add excess hardener, since the film can become brittle and crack. Stir the paint and the thinner mixture well prior to application. Use between 150 to 180 grams per square meter of paint per coat. Do not pollute Asian Paints Woodtech PU palette with oil, varnish or the likes. Mix matte and glossy finishes to obtain desired sheen levels. Ensure that the storage and application is done in well-ventilated areas. Note: the base and the hardener is to be consumed within a week of opening the seal. the first coat of sealer should be more dilute than the second coat. That encourages better grain filling.